All praises to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and peace to everyone joining me on this program. This is the Fountain of Israel's Bible Studies program, and as always, it's an honor for me to stand before you on the Lord's holy Sabbath day. And thank you, folks, for joining me on this one. Now, this is not an ordinary Sabbath day. This is actually the conclusion of the Feast of Tabernacles, the last great day, or the 8th day. This is the last part of it. But before we get into that, please, let me go ahead and invite you to like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and check the description box below. I like to interact with you guys. Shalom, one and all Israel. So let's go ahead and do the conclusion of all our annual holy days, our feast days, our moedims. It's all, this is it. This is the last one. We just came off Tabernacles and we're going to close out Tabernacles. Now, what's after Tabernacles? See, that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to get into a little bit of Tabernacles and trumpets and all this other stuff and everything that kind of leads up to this, which is the 8th day, which is a symbol of eternity. And that is what's after Tabernacles, eternity. Now, a lot of times, if we don't get this information early on, then when someone comes and start talking about this particular information, especially these feast days, people is going to be met with a lot of confusion, right? Like, what does that have to do with anything? What does that have to do with us? What does it have to do with me? What is this about? A lot of confusion. Like, what's going on? What did you say? What is this? What is this whole Tabernacles and 8th day and all this? What are these little feast days and everything? And as you guys already know, I've said in the other feast day lessons that this is about the Most High's plan of salvation for his people, Israel. This is what this is. This is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. This is the plan that he has of him fulfilling his promise. See, this Bible is for Israel, by Israel, and to Israel. This is about the wedding. This is about the Mashiach claiming his bride and preparing a place for him and putting them somewhere so they can dwell safely in their land, so that his bride can dwell safely in their land. Now, at this wedding, obviously, there will be other people there. There will be witnesses to this great ingathering. So this whole plan is unfolding, all of it. This whole thing is unfolding, okay? Starting from the Passover, a sacrifice, the price being paid for that sin debt that we ran up. And then this Feast of Unleavened Bread where we start walking into the newness of life, being conscious, if you will, about the sin that we have done in this body. And moving forward, we go on to Pentecost, where we have this feast of weeks and this power. We have the power. We are empowered to keep the Torah. We're empowered to do so. We're empowered to spread this message to the four winds. We're empowered to do this. This is our job. And of course, obviously, when we start getting into the fall of it, and we have the, besides Pentecost and the Feast of Weeks, we start getting into the Feast of Trumpets. We start getting into the Day of Atonement, and we start getting into Tabernacles. Okay, we have all that. The first fruit, we have all that. Now we have to understand that some of the holy days share different names. They have different names, but it's the same Moedim. But this one is the 8th day. This is the culmination. This is eternity. Now, the Bible doesn't say a whole lot about eternity. But I can say this, that even though the Bible doesn't say a whole lot about eternity, you have some buttermuffins out there who we call, Reverend Dr. Bishop Pastor Priest, say a whole lot of things about eternity. That, you're going to be in heaven, and, you've heard images and seen it, or had images planted in your head that you're going to be dancing on clouds and just playing harps and everything's just going to be all nice and rainbows and lollipops and all the other stuff. And hell, for a long time, you had a lot of people thinking that you were going to dwell in heaven. But my question to you, is that the promise? Is that truly what we were promised? Is that what eternity was about? I submit to you, brothers and sisters, that we have been lied to. We have been lied to. So I ask you again, is that the promise? Is heaven the promise? That we just going to float on off into heaven, and that's how we're going to spend eternity up in heaven, up in the third heaven. No, 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 no. You certainly have been deceived. Even the Messiah says, "Let no man deceive you." But let's get into this lesson. Let's start unpacking this whole thing, and we'll deal with a little bit with eternity, and we're going to just deal with what the Bible actually does say about eternity, or what it alludes to. Because I just simply have to say that the kingdom is what Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob are promised. The kingdom here, thy kingdom come, by which there will be a new heaven and a new earth and the new city Jerusalem, which the Messiah is up there doing construction on right now, to bring down, to descend out of heaven for his bride. Let's go ahead and get this thing together. Let's go ahead and go to Wa'ikra, or Leviticus. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, or Bereshit and Shemot, and then Wa'ikra. So we're going to go to Leviticus 23, if you will. I'm going to read the first 4 verses and then move around or jump around a little bit. So to begin, Leviticus 23, let's see whom these appointed times belong to, and then we'll jump down and get to where we are right now today, and for this particular feast. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, "Speak to the children of Israel and say to them, the appointed times of Yahweh, which you are to proclaim as set apart gatherings, my appointed times are these. My appointed times are these. 6 days work is done, but the 7th day is a Sabbath of rest, a set apart gathering. You do no work. It is a Sabbath of Yahweh in all your dwellings. These are the appointed times of Yah, set apart gatherings, which you are to proclaim at their appointed times." Okay, so now we're going to jump down to 33, and then from 33 we'll jump around a little bit too. So we're going to do 33 to 36 for now. In 33, and Yah spoke to Moshe, saying, "Speak to the children of Israel, saying, on the 15th day of the 7th new moon is the festival of Sukkot," right, of Tabernacles, for 7 days to Yah. "On the first day is a set apart gathering. You do no servile work. And for 7 days you bring an offering made by fire to Yah. On the 8th day there shall be a set apart gathering for you, and ye shall bring an offering made by fire to Yahweh. It is a closing festival. You do no servile work," right? So that one is a closing festival, right? So now I'm going to jump down to 39. I'm going to go 39 up to 41. "And on the 15th day of the 7th new moon, you shall gather in the fruit of the land, celebrate the festival of Yahweh for 7 days. And on the first day is a rest, and on the 8th day a rest." On the first day is a rest, and on the 8th day is a rest. "And you shall take for yourselves in the first day the fruit of the good trees, and branch of palm trees, twigs of leafy trees, and willows of the stream, and shall rejoice before Yahweh your Elohim for 7 days. And ye shall celebrate it as a festival to Yahweh for 7 days in a year, a law forever in your generations. Celebrate it in the 7th new moon," right? And so we see here that this is when they're talking about the Feast of Tabernacles, and now I'm talking about the close of it, right? But over here in 42 it said, "Dwell in booths for 7 days. All who are native born in Israel dwell in booths, so that your generations know that I made the children of Israel dwell in booths when I brought them out of the land of Mizraim. I am Yahweh your Elohim." And thus did Moshe speak of the appointed times of Yahweh to the children of Israel. Okay, so now we have an idea of how they did it. They did that for 7 days. Now, the first day is a solemn assembly, and on the 8th day is a solemn assembly, right? So let's go ahead and go over to Numbers. Okay, we're going to go ahead and go to Numbers, okay, which should be chapter 29 in Ba Mikvah 29. So in Ba Mikvah, we're going to read a little. I'm going to jump around a little bit. I just want to see, look at the different days, what they did like each day, right? Day 1, day 2, day 3, right? So we're in Ba Mikvah, or Numbers 29. I'm going to start at 17. And 17 says this. Then on the second day, okay, so we know we did the first one, jumping right to the second day, right? Now, on the second day, 12 young bulls, 2 rams, 14 lambs, a year-old perfect ones, or without spot, without blemish, right? Right. Then let me drop to 20, and it says, and on the third day, 11 bulls, 2 rams, 14 lambs, a year-old perfect ones, right? Without spot, without blemish. Let me drop down to 23. And it says, and then on the fourth day, 10 bulls, 2 rams, 14 lambs, a year-old perfect ones, right? Okay, so that was 23. We're going to drop down to 26. And it says, and then on the 5th day, 5 bulls, 2 rams, 14 lambs, a year-old perfect ones, okay? So that was on 26. Let's drop to 29. 29 says, then on the 6th day, 8 bulls, 2 rams, 14 lambs, a year-old perfect ones. Okay, now that's the 29, so we're going to do 32 and 35. 32 says this, then on the 7th day, 7 bulls, 2 rams, 14 lambs, a year-old perfect ones. Okay, and that's 32, and so now we're going to go to 35. 35, it says, and what? On the 8th day, you have an assembly, you do no servile work. Okay, so on the 8th day, you have an assembly, right? So that's when the 8th day, you close it out. No servile work, things like that. Okay, so this all points to something, right? This all points to something. So we're going to go ahead and go forward so we can learn, and we're going to go to the Chronicles. Let's see what we have. We do, okay, that's the Kings. Okay, the Kings, that is the Melachim for the Kings. But now, and then I need to get to the Chronicles real quick. Okay. Now, when we get to Chronicles, we're going to go to, when we get there, I want to get the second Chronicles, actually. Okay, 2 Chronicles chapter 5, and then I want to, let's see here, 2 Chronicles chapter 5, and I want the first 14 verses. Okay, 2 Chronicles chapter 5, and really the whole chapter, we're going to go ahead and get into that, right? Let's get Dibri Ha Yamim Bet, right? And so, verse 1, it reads, in all the work that Shlomo had done for the house of Yahweh was completed, and Shlomo brought in the set apart items of his father David, the silver and the gold of all the utensils, and he put them in treasuries of the house of Elohim. And Shlomo assembled the elders of Israel and all the heads of the tribe, the chief fathers of the children of Israel in Jerusalem, to bring up the ark of the covenant of Yahweh from the city of David, which is Sion. And all the men of Israel assembled to the sovereign at the festival, which was in the 7th new moon, the 7th month. And all the elders of Israel came, and the Levites took up the ark, the Levites, right? And he brought up the ark in the tent of appointment, and all the set apart utensils that were in the tent, and the Levite priests brought them up. And sovereign Shlomo and all the congregation of Israel who were assembled to him before the ark were slaughtering so many sheep and cattle that could not be counted or numbered. And the priests brought in the ark of the covenant of Yahweh to its place, into the speaking place of the house, to the most set apart place under the wings of the cherubim. For the cherubim spread their wings over the place of the ark, and the cherubim covered over the ark and its poles. And the poles were so long that the ends of the poles of the ark were seen from the set apart place in front of the speaking place, but they were not seen from outside, and they are there to this day. There was not in the ark but the 2 tablets which Moshe put there in Horeb when Yahweh made a covenant with the children of Israel when they came out of Mitzrayim. And it came to be when the priests came out of the most set apart place, for all the priests who were present had set themselves apart, there was none to watch by division. And the Levite singers, all those of Asaph and Heman and Yehudun, with their sons and their brothers, stood at the east end of the slaughter place, dressed in white linen, having cymbals and harps and lyres, and with them 120 priests sounding the trumpets. Then it came to be, as the trumpeters and singers were as one, to make one sound to be heard in praising and thanking Yahweh. And when they lifted up their voices with the trumpets and with cymbals and with instruments of song, and giving praise to Yahweh, for he is good, for his loving commitment is everlasting, that the house of Yahweh was filled with a cloud. And the priests were unable to stand and perform the services because of the cloud, for the esteem of Yahweh filled the house of Elohim. Brothers and sisters, look what happened when it's done correctly. Look what happened when they were so near to our Elohim. When we were so near to our Elohim, look at what happens. He shows up. When we're doing what we're supposed to do, his esteem, his glory will fill the place. And one day that'll happen again. One day that will happen once more for us when we are in the presence. That's what all these feast days was leading up to. It's like, okay, we are going to dwell again, tabernacles, in gathering. And we'll keep company with the Most High. We're going to keep company with the Father and the Son in the kingdom. If you read Hazan or Revelation, you'll understand that. This is what we're waiting for. This is what this is about. We're looking for the conclusion. That's why we keep rehearsing the matter, so it's always in the top of our mind. So it's always before, it's ever before us. So we don't forget why we are believing what we believe, why we are trying to endure unto the end. Can someone say hallelujah? Okay, so I'm in 2nd Chronicles, okay? Debri Hayama Bet, and we're going to go to chapter 7. Let's go to chapter 7. And I just want the first 3 verses. Okay, 2nd Chronicles. And it says, and when Shlomo had ended praying, fire came down from the heavens and consumed the ascending offering and the slaughterings, and the esteem of Yahweh filled the house. And the priests were unable to enter the house of Yahweh because of the esteem of Yahweh, and had filled the house of Yahweh. And all the children of Israel saw how the fire came down and the esteem of Yahweh on the house, and they bowed their faces to the ground on the pavement, and did obeisance and gave thanks to Yahweh, saying, for he is good, for his loving commitment is everlasting, for his mercy endureth forever. For his mercy endureth forever. Let's do 8 and 9. Verse 8 says, and Shlomo at that time observed the festival 7 days, and all Israel with him, a very great assembly, from the entrance of Hamath to the Wadi of Mitzrayim. And on the 8th day, they held an assembly, for they performed the dedication of the slaughter place 7 days, and the festival 7 days. So look at what happens. Look at what happens when we do things in order, when we do it how we're supposed to. And I'm not saying today, oh, we're doing it just like that. Obviously not. We don't have the temple and the slaughter place. We don't have any. I get that. But I want you to see the picture, how beautiful it is when it is done correctly. I think you need to get the mental picture of what it looks like, what they saw, what they witnessed when they did do what thus says the Most High. So now we're just going to rehearse the matter. Now let's go on over to Nehemiah. Let's go on over to Nehemiah. Okay, and what do we have here? Here we go, Nehemiah. Okay, and we're going to go to chapter 8 of Nehemiah. Nehemiah. All right, 8, and then I want 13 through 18. 13 through 18. And let's see what it says. 13 through 18 of Nehemiah of chapter 8. And it says, "And on the second day, the heads of the fathers' houses of all the people, with the priests and the Levites, were gathered to Ezra the scribe in order to study the words of the Torah. And they found written in the Torah, which Yahweh had commanded by Moshe, that the children of Israel should dwell in booths in the festival of the 7th new moon, and that they should announce and proclaim in all their cities and in Jerusalem, saying, go up to the mountain and bring olive branches, branches of oil and trees and myrtle branches and palm branches and branches of Levi trees to make booths, as it is written. So the people went out and brought them and made themselves booths, each one on the roof of his house and in their courtyards and in the courtyards of the house of Elohim and in the open space of the water gate and in the open space of the gates of Ephraim. And the entire assembly of those who had come back from the captivity made booths and sat under the booths, for since the days of Yeshua, son of Nun, until that day the children of Israel had not done so. And there was a great, very great rejoicing, a very great rejoicing." And 18. "And day by day, from the first day until the last day, he read from the book of Torah Elohim, and they performed the festival 7 days. And on the 8th day, there was an assembly according to the right ruling." And that's what we're doing now, right? Now, of course, we're not doing it perfectly because we're not in Jerusalem. In fact, if you look at some news, actually, they're working on more deportation of getting rid of the Hebrew Israelites over there, the African Hebrew Israelites that are over in Jerusalem on the south side and have been there for 50 years, and they're kicking them out. They've already been there. I mean, it's been 50 years, so obviously there's generations born, after that, and they're still trying to deport them and get them out of there right now. So there's a great tumult in Israel. There's a great tumult. Look at all you have to do, Google it. That they are trying to deport, still to this day, still trying to deport the black Israelites, the African Israelites. I hate saying black Hebrew Israelites, just Israelites, okay? But for the purposes of finding the article, just Google black Hebrew Israelite deportation, Israel. You go from there. You're going to see all kinds of articles at that time. There's a great tumult for the land. Yeah, people fighting over, and I'm not talking about the Hebrew Israelites. Obviously, they are supposed to be there, but you got two factions of people, two nations who are fighting over a land that's neither one of theirs. But that's for a completely different lesson. Okay, this is the 8th day. This is the time where none of that's going to matter. Everybody's going to be set in the right land. Everybody's going to be where they're supposed to be. That's what's going to happen. Okay, because Most High is not going to deal with it. He's going to get out of my face. I don't want to hear it. Just get smooth out of my face. People are going to go where I tell them to go. You're going to go where he wants you to go. It's going to be his way and his way only. Period. It's a tumult now. It won't be then. All that's going to be settled. Okay, so we're going to keep this thing going. We're going to go back to Torah and go to Exodus or Shemot. And we're going to go 23. Okay, Shemot 23 or Exodus 23. And I just want to read 14 through 16. Okay, starting at 14. It says, "What 3 times in a year you are to celebrate a festival to me. Guard the festival of Matzot. 7 days you are to eat unleavened bread, as I commanded you, at the time appointed in the new moon of Abib. For in it you came out of Mitzrayim, and you do not appear before me empty-handed. And the festival of harvest, the first fruit of your labors which you have sown in your field, and the festival of what? Ingathering, at the outgoing of the year, when you have gathered in the fruit of your labors from the field. So the last part, the end part. 3 times in a year, all your males are to appear before the Master Yahweh. 3 times we have to do this. So men, we have to start. It starts with us. 3 times a year. And we're talking about the ingathering. And this particular lesson is a conclusion of said ingathering. So speaking of end, let's go to the end of the book. Let's go to Hazan, or Revelation. We're going to go to Hazan, and we're going to go to chapter 11 when we get there. And I just want 15 through 18 of Hazan, or Revelation. 15 through 18. 15 says this. And the 7th messenger sounded, and there came to be loud voices in heaven, saying, the reign of this world has become the reign of our master and of his Messiah. He shall reign forever and ever. And the 24 elders sitting before Elohim on their thrones fell on their faces and worshipped Elohim, saying, we give you thanks, O Yahweh El Shaddai, the one who is and who was and who is coming, because you have taken your great power and reigned. And the nations were enraged. Oh, they're mad. Oh, they're mad. The nations were enraged because they like the status quo. But the Messiah is coming to rearrange all of that. Sorry, the earth is mine. And all that is in there. Oh, they mad. Oh, they big mad. They are big mad right now, okay? The nations, they're going to be big mad. And it says, and the nations were enraged, and your wrath has come in the time of the dead to be judged, and to give the reward of your servants, the prophets, and the set apart ones, and those who fear your name, small and great, and to destroy those who destroy the earth, okay? So he's like, okay, eviction time. Time to go, everybody. Not me. Don't want to bend it. Who don't want to bow and serve me. Time to go. It is a great big remodeling project coming up. There's gonna be a lot of casualties in this thing. So got to go. So we're gonna keep moving. Okay, we did 15 through 18, okay? 11, 15 through 18. We're going to go back to Ezekiel. Okay. Isaiah. So now we're going to go on over to Ezekiel because we're not done. Then we go to Ezekiel. I want to get chapter 20. Chapter 20. And when I get there, I'm going to start at 33. And I'm going to read 33 to 38, actually. 33 says this. As I live, declares the Master Yahweh, do not I, with the mighty hand, with an outstretched arm, and with the wrath poured out, reign over you? Oh, that's going to happen. And I shall bring you out from the peoples and gather you out of the lands where you are scattered with a mighty hand and with an outstretched arm and with wrath poured out. Oh, it's gonna be awe-inspiring. Am I not? He said, am I not the mighty one who is about to bring you out and put you in your own land? Am I not the one who's about to gather you? Do I not have the power to do such things? 35. And I shall bring you into the wilderness of the peoples and shall enter into judgment with you face to face there. So he's going to purge out the rebels. He's going to get everything straight. Here's my advice, Israel. When that happens and you're there, shh, quiet. Your opinion doesn't matter. Shh. 36. As I entered into judgment with your fathers in the wilderness of the land of Mizraim, so I shall enter into judgment with you, declares the Master Yahweh. And I shall make you pass under the rod, and I will bring you into the bond of the covenant. What? And purge the rebels from among you, and those who trespass against me. From the land of they sojourn, I bring them out. But they shall not come into the land of Israel, and you shall know that I am Yahweh. Not everybody's going to enter into this. Not everyone's going to enter into this rest. Not everyone's going to get passage or access into the kingdom. See, he's going to take you to the wilderness first to do what? To purge out those who want to argue, bicker, and backbite. Those who want to, oh no, we're supposed to do this. Oh no, you can't do that, brother. I see, brother, what you got to understand when you, all the excuse making, all that confusion that's spread around today, all the backbiting and all that. Yeah, that's going to be gone. Those who's going to speak up and say, I got a suggestion, Messiah. Purge it out. You out of here. You know, I think what would really happen, what would work better would be ... You're out. Oh, I don't think I appreciate what, you're out. He's going to purge out the rest of those who have a word against his way of doing things. Those who have a massive attack of ego, who think they just really know better. They know better than the Messiah. They're not going to enter in this rest. I can tell you that much. They are not going to enter in this rest. Okay? Let's go on over to Yeshayahu or Isaiah. We're going to go to chapter 11. We're going to look at some more of this. Okay? Chapter 11, 1 through 12. Yeshayahu or Isaiah. 1 says, and a rod shall come forth from the stump of Yeshai, and the sprout from his roots shall be fruitful. And the spirit of Yahweh shall rest upon him, the spirit of wisdom and understanding, the spirit of counsel and might, the spirit of knowledge and the fear of Yahweh. And shall make him breathe in the fear of Yahweh, and he shall not judge by the sight of his eyes, nor decide by the hearing of his ears. But with the righteousness he shall judge the poor, and shall decide with straightness for the meek ones of the earth, and shall strike the earth with the rod of his mouth, and slay the wrongs with the breath of his lips. And righteousness shall be the girdle of his loins, and trustworthiness the girdle of his waist. And a wolf shall dwell with the lamb, and a leopard lie down with the young goat, and the calf and the young lion and a fatling together, and a little child leads them. A cow and a bear shall feed, their young ones lie down together, and a lion eat straw like an ox. So the very nature of animals will change, just like the very nature of people from being mortal to immortal. Okay, at the resurrection. And 8, and a nursing child shall play by the cobra's hole, and a weaned child shall put his hand in the adder's den. They do no evil nor destroy in all my set apart mountain, for the earth shall be filled with the knowledge of Yahweh as the water covers the sea. And in that day there shall be a root of Yeshai, standing as a banner to the people. Unto him the nation shall seek, and his rest shall be esteemed. And it shall be in that day that Yahweh sets his hand again a second time to do what? To recover the remnant of his people who are left. To recover the remnant of his people. We were just talking about the ingathering, right? Tabernacles, ingathering. He's going to grab his people. He's going to snatch his people from the four corners of the earth, from everywhere. Where do we originate from, right? He's going to snatch them up. to recover the remnant of his people who are left from Ashar and from Mitzrayim and from Pathroth and from Cush and from Eliam and from Shinar and from Hamath and from the isles of the sea. Where did we originate from? This is where we originated from. That's what he's talking about. But he's going to get us from everywhere that he scattered us. Everywhere. And he shall raise a banner for the nations and gather the outcasts of Israel and assembly the dispersed of Yehuda from the four corners of the earth. That's everybody else, right? He's going to gather from everybody else. This is what's coming, and this is why these feast days, these holy days, are that important, brothers and sisters. Can I get a hallelujah in the comment section down below? That's why this is important. That's why this ingathering is important. That's why it's important for us to know what's going on in these holy days. These feast days are telling us something. And what do? We let some butter muffins in our past tell us, oh, that's just for the Jews. That's not for us. Nah, I don't want to hear that. Get that out of here. We don't need that. We're in the New Testament now. We're in this new covenant and all that. Get out of here. That's what you get. That's what you get from the unlearned butter muffins out there that want to stand in front of the podium and start spouting out stuff and don't know what they're talking about. Whose mouths must be stopped. Because they're more interested in impressing you instead of pressing upon you the importance of knowing what thus says the Lord. They're more concerned with you swallowing a bunch of untruths, right? Because it sounds good. Because it doesn't matter if it sounds good if it's not true. It doesn't matter if it sounds good if it's a lie. Lie, 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 lie. Let's go to Psalms or Tehillim. Let's go to Psalms 95 or Tehillim 95. We have got to do better, brothers and sisters. Let's start at verse 3. I read 3 through 11. For Yahweh is a great El, and a great sovereign above all mighty ones, in whose hands are the depths of the earth. The mountain peaks are his also. His is the sea, for he made it, and his hands formed the dry ground. Come, let us bow down and bend low. Let us kneel before Yahweh our Maker, for he is our Elohim. And we are the people of his pasture and the sheep of his hand. Today, if you would hear his voice, do not harden your hearts as in Meribah, and as in the day of Massah in the wilderness, when your fathers tried me, have proved me, though they saw my work. For 40 years I was grieved with that generation, and said, there are people who go astray in their hearts, and they do not know my ways. As I swore in my wrath, if they enter into my rest. Brothers and sisters, this is what we are talking about. Okay? This is what we're talking about. Entering in his rest. Entering into his rest. Okay? And again, we're in that new covenant. We're on that new. Okay, fine. Let's go to Hebrews or Ibrim. Okay? Let's do that. Because around here, we use the whole Bible. Okay? We do the whole Bible. We're going to go to Ibrim or Hebrews chapter 4. Okay? First 11 verses. Okay? Let's see what he's talking about. Therefore, since a promise remains of entering into his rest, that's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about, this eternity, right? Okay? I'm talking about that 1,000 years, and then the eternity is after that, right? Therefore, since a promise remains of entering into his rest, let us fear lest any of you seem to have come short of it. For indeed the good news was brought to us as well as to them. But the word which they heard did not profit them, none having been mixed with belief in those who heard it. Okay? with faith, right? You're hearing this. When you hear this, you learn this truth, believe it also. 3, for we who have believed do not enter into that rest, as he has said, as I swore in my wrath, if they shall enter into my rest. And yet his works have come into being from the foundations of the world. For somewhere he was said thus about the seventh day, and Elohim rested on the seventh day from all his works. And in this again, if they shall enter into my rest, since then it remained for some to enter into it, and those who formerly received the good news did not enter in because of disobedience. He again defines a certain day, today, saying through David so much later. As it has been said today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts. For if Yehoshua had given them rest, who's back there? So if Yehoshua had given them rest, he would not have spoken of another day after that. So there remains a Sabbath keeping for the people of Elohim. For the one having entered into his rest has himself also rested from his works, as Elohim rested from his own. Let us therefore do our utmost to enter into that rest, lest anyone fall after the same example of disobedience. Unless any one of us fall after the same example of disobedience. That let us do our utmost to enter into that rest. You want to lean into this. You want to get an understanding of this and then lean into it. In other words, have faith in it, believe in it, believe that he's going to do exactly what he says he's going to do. If he scattered them, believing that he will gather them, you believe he scattered us, right? So believe that he's going to gather. And even those who fall asleep, he's going to call them and they're going to hear him out of the dust of the earth. Some resurrected to life everlasting, and some to contempt. Which one will you be, brothers and sisters? Which one? We're going to continue. We're going to go to Revelation, or Hazan 20, chapter 20. And verse 3. First 3. Let's look at this rest. First 3 verses. Hazan chapter 20, verse 3. And I saw a messenger coming down from heaven, having the key to the pit of the deep, and a great chain in his hand. And he seized the dragon, the serpent of old, who is the devil and Satan, and bound him for 1,000 years. And he threw him into the pit of the deep and shut him up, and set a seal on him, so that he should lead the nations no more astray until the 1,000 years were entered. And after that, he has to be released for a little while. So this is that seventh day. 6,000 years of humanity, then 1,000 years where the Messiah rules and reigns without the influence of Hasatan on it. And at the end of that, those people who were alive during that millennial reign will have to make a choice at the end of that. Because if we continue to read, we understand that once he's released, he's going to influence and actually recruit some. Even though they just had 1,000 years with saints and the Messiah and all that. But he's going to recruit some. Because why? They have to make a choice just like you and I did. We had to make a choice. They get an opportunity to make a choice. That millennial reign. Then we'll have that whole 7,000 years. The book is concluded. After that, eternity. If we go over to 1 Corinthians, I'm going to go to 1 Corinthians 15. I'm going to do this in the King James, right? We're going to look at that in the King James. So 1 Corinthians 15 in the King James, start at verse 24. It says this: Then cometh the end, when he shall have delivered up the kingdom to God, even the Father, when he shall have put down all rule and all authority and power. For he must reign till he had put all enemies under his feet. The last enemy that shall be destroyed is death. For he has put all things under his feet, but when he said all things are put under him, it is manifest that he is accepted, which did put all things under him. Okay, so it's true. And when all things shall be subdued unto him, then shall the Son also himself be subject unto him that put all things under him, that God may be all in all. That is all about the Father. Even though the Son's going to do a lot of this work, he's doing the heavy lifting. But to Elohim, to the Father be the glory. But we're still here in Revelation 20. And I'm going to go ahead and go to 4, and we'll read 4 to 15. Let's go back, and now I'm back in the scriptures. And I saw the thrones, and they sat on them, and judgment was given to them. And the lives of those who had been beheaded because of the witness they bore to Yeshua, and because of the word of Elohim, who did not worship the beast nor his image, and did not receive his mark upon their foreheads or upon their hands. And they lived and reigned with Messiah for 1,000 years. Okay, that's that 7,000 years, 1,000 years. And the rest of the dead did not come to life until the 1,000 years were ended. This is the first resurrection. Blessed and set apart is the one having part in the first resurrection. The second death possessed no authority over these. But they shall be priests of Elohim and of Messiah, and shall reign with him, what? 1,000 years. And when 1,000 years have ended, Satan shall be released from his prison, and he shall go out to lead the nations astray, which are in the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together for battle. Those number is as the sand of the sea. So he's going to get a lot of people. He's going to recruit a lot of people. After that 1,000 years, okay, this is after the 1,000 years. Now we're talking about getting into eternity. Now we're getting into the 8th day, right? We're starting to usher our way into the 8th day after this 1,000-year millennium, or you're getting a timeline in your mind, okay? So that's where we're getting. Okay, 9. And they came up over the breadth of the earth and surrounded the camp of the set apart ones and the beloved city. And fire came down from Elohim out of the heaven and consumed them. So that was over before it really even started, right? And then 10. And the devil, who led them astray, was thrown into the lake of fire and sulfur, where the beast and the false prophet are, and they shall be tortured day and night forever and ever. And I saw a great white throne and him who was sitting on it, for whose face the earth and the heaven fled away, and no place was found for them. No place was found for them, right? And I saw the dead, small and great, standing before the throne, and books were open. And another book was open, which is the book of life, which is where we want to be, right? And the dead were judged from what was written in the books according to their works. Hello, according to their works. I thought you don't have to do anything. I thought we don't have to do anything. But yet the books are going to be open, and it's going to be judged according to our works. Watch out for what these butter muffins are saying to you, brothers and sisters. 13. And the sea gave up the dead who were in it, and death and Sheol gave up the dead who were in them. And they were judged, each one according to what? His works. And death and Sheol were thrown into the lake of fire. This is the second death. And if anyone who was not found written in the book of life, he was thrown into the lake of fire. If anyone was not found in the book of life, you're not written down in the Lamb's book of life, you're thrown into the lake of fire and destroyed. Along with Hasatan and the beast and the false prophet, death, Sheol, all that. See, after that, no more dying, because even death is gone. Eternity. We're focusing on eternity. This, what you just read, what you just entered, is the renewal or the beginning of eternity. Because when we go to the next chapter, this is, you might as well just account it, unless otherwise stated, we're talking about eternity. So let's look at chapter 21. We're going to move around a little bit, but we're going to look at chapter 21. This is that lake of fire. All this is done. Follow the timeline, right? So that's why I do the 8th day. I do a separate teaching. It's after Tabernacles. 21. And I saw a renewed heaven and a renewed earth. For the former heaven and the former earth had passed away, and the sea is no more. And I, Yohanan, saw the set apart city, renewed Jerusalem, coming down out of the heaven from Elohim, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the heaven saying, see, the booth of Elohim is with men. And he shall dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and Elohim himself shall be with them and be their Elohim. And Elohim shall wipe away every tear from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, no more mourning, no crying. And there shall be no more pain, for the former matters have passed away. Hallelujah. And he who was sitting on the throne said, see, I make all matters new. And he said to me, write, for these words are true and trustworthy. And he said to me, it is done. I am the Aleph and the Ta, and the beginning and the end. To the one who thirsts, I shall give of the fountain of the water of life without payment. The one who overcomes shall inherit all things, and I shall be his Elohim, and he shall be my son. But as for the cowardly and untrustworthy and abominable and murderers and those who whore and drug sorcerers and idolaters and all the false, their part is in the lake which burns with fire and sulfur, which is the second death. And one of the 7 messengers who held the 7 bowls filled with the 7 last plagues came to me and spoke with me, saying, come, and I shall show you the bride, the Lamb's wife. And he carried me away in the spirit to a great and high mountain, and showed me the great city, the set apart Jerusalem, descending out of heaven from Elohim, having the esteem of Elohim, and her light was like the most precious stone, like a jasper stone, clear as crystal. And having a great and high wall, having 12 gates, and at the 12 gates messengers, and the names written on them, which are those of the 12 tribes of the children of Israel. 3 gates on the east, 3 gates on the north, 3 gates on the south, and 3 gates on the west. And the wall of the city had 12 foundations, and on them were the names of the 12 emissaries of the Lamb. And he who spoke with me had a golden measuring rod to measure the city and its gates and its walls. And the city lies 4-cornered, and its length is as great as its breadth. And he measured the city with the rod, 12,000 stadia. The length and the breadth and the height of it are equal. And he measured its wall 144 forearms, according to the measure of a man, that is, of a messenger. And the structure of its wall was jasper, and the city was clean gold, like clear glass. That's purity, brothers and sisters. And the foundations of the wall of the city were adorned with all kinds of precious stones. The first foundation, jasper. The second, sapphire. The third, gate, the agate. And the fourth, emerald. The fifth, sardonyx. The sixth, ruby. The seventh, chrysolite. And the eighth, beryl. The ninth, topaz. The 10th, chrysoprase. The 11th, jacinth. And the 12th, amethyst. And the 12 gates were 12 pearls. Each one of the gates was a single pearl. And the streets of the city was clean gold, like transparent glass. And I saw no dwelling place in it, for Yahweh El Shaddai is its dwelling place, and the Lamb. And the city had no need of the sun nor of the moon to shine in it, for the esteem of Elohim lightened it, and the Lamb is its lamp. And the nations of those who were saved shall walk in its light, and the sovereigns of the earth bring their esteem into it. And its gates shall not be shut at all by day, for night shall not be there. And they shall bring the esteem of the appreciation of the nations into it. And there shall by no means enter in it whatsoever is unclean, neither anyone doing abomination and falsehood, but only those who are written in the Lamb's book of life. Only those who are written in the Lamb's book of life. That's what we have, brothers and sisters. The 8th day. Eternity. Now your homework assignments, go ahead and read chapter 22. But you have to understand all these moedims, all these appointed times is telling us how it all ends. You get to decide where you want to be. Now the price is going to be faith and obedience. That's going to be the price. But you get to decide where you want to be when this is all over. We can continue to rehearse the matter until no more breath is in our body. But you get to decide where you want to be. Playtime is over. No more confusion. No more lies. If somebody wants to doubt, you're doing your own study. Study it. Learn. Go over these scriptures. Get an understanding of the timeline. And after that, someone wants to challenge you. They want to come at you. Then you have an answer for the hope that is within you. This is the conclusion, the last part. This is it. The last part of our Moedims before we get into a wicked season, I should say. Sorry. Before we get into a wicked season that's coming up, you gird up your loins and you understand and you draw close to Elohim. You draw close to Yeshua HaMashiach. You hold this in your heart. You hold this close. You observe this and memorialize this. And maybe if he has mercy on us, we're going to be a part of the winning side. Our faith will not be in vain. We will have access to the kingdom. We will have immortality. We will be able to dwell with righteous brethren, righteous set apart saints. We will be able to commune with our Messiah. We will be able to be with the Elohim, the Most High, the Father. We'll get to see our ancestors risen again. We get to be in the kingdom where righteousness will be all over the earth in peace. No more pain, no more suffering, no more dying, no more evil, no more Hasatan. All will be revealed and available to each of us. What more could you ask for? I hope someone has got something out of this lesson. This has been the conclusion of the Feast of Tabernacles, the 8th day, the great day. So until next time, search the scriptures and prove all things. Shalom and peace, Israel.